The rain had just started when the billionaire stepped out of his car, expecting a quick visit, not a moment that would change his life. He had come to donate to a small community center, but instead he noticed a quiet girl in a wheelchair watching him with wide, worried eyes. She wasn't scared of him, she seemed scared for someone else. Her hands shook as she rolled closer, and before he could even introduce himself, she whispered the words that froze him in place. "Please don't adopt me. Adopt my mom instead." Her voice was soft but steady, like she had practiced it 100 times. He didn't understand. Kids usually begged for help for themselves, not for someone older. But this girl, fragile yet brave, looked at him like he was her last hope. The billionaire sensed there was more behind her plea, something heavy, something she was trying to protect. He saw the exhaustion in her mother's eyes across the room, a woman pretending to be strong while the world slowly chipped away at her. He wanted to ask why. Why him? Why her mother? Why this unusual request? But before he could speak, the girl's mother rushed over, clearly startled, almost afraid of what her daughter had said. The air suddenly tightened, like a secret was hanging between them, one that could change the fate of all three if revealed. And just as he leaned in to learn the truth, something unexpected happened, leaving him with more questions than answers. The billionaire paused, watching the mother gently place her hands on the wheelchair handles, her smile soft but clearly forced. She thanked him for visiting the center, acting as if her daughter hadn't just said something shocking. The girl lowered her eyes, almost as if she regretted speaking, but the billionaire could see she meant every word. He sensed a deeper story hiding beneath her quiet courage, something connected to the worn-out look on her mother's face and the way she kept avoiding eye contact. He followed them inside the center, noticing how the girl's wheelchair wheels squeaked slightly, and how the mother tried to hide her limp, as if she didn't want anyone to worry about her. The billionaire wasn't used to feeling unsure, but something about this small family unsettled him. It wasn't fear, it was the strange pull of wanting to understand them. He asked a simple question about how long they'd been visiting the center, but the mother gave a vague answer, as if she didn't want him digging too deep. Volunteers greeted him, explaining how many families came here for support, but his attention kept drifting back to the girl. Her eyes followed her mother everywhere, full of love and a kind of tension he couldn't name. Every time he looked at the mother, she quickly looked away, like she carried a secret too heavy for her already tired shoulders. Just when he thought he might finally ask what was going on, a quiet voice from the hallway called the mother's name, shaking both her and the girl in a way he couldn't ignore. The mother stiffened at the sound of her name, and the girl's hands tightened around the armrests of her wheelchair. The billionaire watched the shift in their expressions: fear, recognition, and something like resignation. A woman from the center stepped out of the hallway, holding a clipboard and giving the mother a sympathetic look. It wasn't the look people gave when something simple was wrong. It was the kind of look given when things were slipping out of someone's control. The billionaire stepped back slightly, letting them talk, but he listened closely. The woman spoke softly, reminding the mother about a meeting she hadn't attended, and gently mentioned overdue forms. Nothing specific was said, but the tone hinted at trouble, serious trouble. The mother nodded quickly, promising she would get everything together soon, but her voice wavered. The girl kept glancing at the billionaire, as if silently begging him not to walk away from this. He felt the pull again, that sense that he had walked into something far more complicated than a simple donation visit. The volunteers nearby whispered about families struggling, about the pressure on single parents, about how some people were doing everything they could just to keep going. The billionaire had seen people hide pain behind polite smiles before, but this felt different. This felt like a family running out of time. As the mother turned to leave with her daughter, the clipboard woman called after her with a quiet reminder that made both of them freeze. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make the billionaire realize the girl's strange request wasn't random. It was a desperate attempt to stop something from happening, and whatever that something was, it was getting closer. The billionaire followed them outside the room, unable to shake the feeling that he was watching a fragile world slowly cracking. The mother tried to steady her voice as she pushed the wheelchair down the hallway, but the tension in her shoulders told a different story. The girl kept looking back at him, her eyes silently pleading, as if she knew he was the only person who might understand what they couldn't say out loud. He finally caught up to them near the exit. Before he could speak, a stack of papers slipped from the mother's hands and scattered across the floor. The billionaire bent to help, but the moment he picked up the first page, he froze. He didn't read the details, just a few bold words were enough to send a chill through him. The mother snatched the papers quickly, her hands trembling, and she muttered an apology that sounded more like a shield than a genuine excuse. The girl's voice cracked when she whispered, "Mom, it's okay." He saw, but the mother shook her head firmly, as if admitting anything out loud would make everything collapse faster. A staff member approached them, politely reminding the mother that they would need updated documents soon. The gentleness in her tone couldn't hide the urgency underneath. It was clear the situation was reaching a breaking point. The billionaire watched the mother close her eyes for a moment, gathering herself, as if she was standing on the edge of a decision she had been avoiding for far too long. He was about to ask what was really happening when the center's main doors opened, and someone unexpected stepped inside, calling the mother's name with a voice that made the hallway fall silent. The girl's eyes widened, the mother's breath caught, and the billionaire suddenly knew the climax was coming, whether any of them were ready or not. A man in a dark jacket stepped through the doorway, scanning the hallway until his eyes locked onto the mother. The change in her was instant. Her posture stiffened, her voice caught in her throat, and the girl instinctively reached for her mother's hand. The billionaire didn't recognize the man, but he recognized the tension that followed him, the kind that carried unfinished business. The man walked closer, speaking calmly, but his calm was the kind that made people nervous. He explained that he had been trying to reach the mother for days. He said her name again, softer this time, as if he understood she might run if he pushed too hard. The mother swallowed hard and nodded, but she didn't move. The girl looked between them, her breath shaky. The billionaire took a small step forward, feeling the weight of the moment settle heavily on all of them. The man glanced at him, sizing him up, then focused back on the mother. He said something about deadlines, about decisions that couldn't be delayed anymore. The mother's face paled, and the girl whispered, "Mom, please." Before anyone could react, the clipboard woman from earlier hurried over, clearly alarmed to see the man there. Her expression said enough. Whatever he represented wasn't routine. She tried to guide the conversation away from the hallway, but the man wasn't willing to wait. He held out another envelope, one the mother seemed terrified to touch. The billionaire watched her hands tremble as she finally accepted it. The moment her fingers brushed the paper, the girl's eyes filled with fear, the kind that came from knowing what was inside. And just as the mother opened the envelope, her breath hitched, revealing a second twist none of them had seen coming, one that shifted everything and pushed the already fragile situation even closer to breaking. The mother unfolded the envelope slowly, her fingers trembling as if the paper itself carried weight. The billionaire watched her eyes move across the page, widening with every line she read. The girl leaned forward in her wheelchair, whispering, "Mom, what does it say?" But the mother didn't answer. She looked frozen, caught between fear and disbelief. Finally, she exhaled shakily and handed the paper to the billionaire. He hesitated before reading it, unsure if it was his place, but the mother nodded, almost pleading. The letter revealed what everything had been leading to. She was at risk of losing her daughter's care placement at the center, due to overdue medical documents and the financial strain she had been quietly battling for months. She had been trying to handle everything alone, afraid that asking for help would make her look unfit. That was why the girl had begged him to adopt her mother instead, not out of drama, but out of desperation, praying someone would save the woman who had been sacrificing everything before he could speak. The man in the jacket stepped forward and revealed the second twist. He wasn't there to take the girl away. He was there to offer the mother a final opportunity, a support program she had been recommended 4 months earlier, one that could protect their future. But she had never completed the process out of fear and pride. The billionaire took a steady breath and looked at both of them. Then he made a decision not to adopt the girl, not to separate them, but to step in and fully sponsor the mother's enrollment and medical support, ensuring they stayed together.